Hey y'all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Listen, I have not made a quality time with Q video in a couple of months, okay? But I'm here today to chat with y'all because I just realized that the other day I had not made a video. And so I want to talk about love, relationship, and marriage on this video and this quality time with Q. I was asked to speak on a love and relationship panel last week at a women's summit in Greensboro, and I really enjoyed it. I'm always hesitant when people ask me to give advice on marriage or relationships because I don't want to ever come off as if, oh, I'm perfect. I'm a perfect wife. My husband is perfect. We got a perfect relationship, a perfect marriage. And we don't. We don't have a perfect marriage. If it wasn't for God being our glue, I'm sure we would have fallen apart by now, but God has just been good to us. And so I just want to share what I think is essentials in marriage or just things that worked for us in our house. So the first thing I want to say is communication. So communication is very important. I know it's kind of cliche and we always hear that, but it's like a serious deal. Because people can't read your mind. And if you don't communicate things that's on your mind or in your heart, then your spouse is not going to know. I remember when I used to walk around pouting or mad at my husband, and then we sit down and talk it out. And he's like, well, Shonda, I can't read your mind. Like, if that's what you wanted, you should say something. And I'm like, well, you should know. No, they shouldn't know. They shouldn't know. How do they know if you don't tell them? So communication is key. Just talking things out. I know my husband and I, when we first got married, we were just like, we'll never go to bed mad at each other. We're going to sit up as long as we need to talk it out. And I've been married for 21 years in December. And I think I've probably been mad at him twice, the whole marriage, and went to sleep and woke up the next morning. But we try to just kind of like talk it out because you just never know, I just don't advise people to go to bed mad with each other because you don't know if you're going to wake up the next day. It's scary. You shouldn't do stuff like that. But communication is just very, very, very important. Second of all, it's just keeping people out of your business. And people hear me say this all the time. I just keep people out your business. First of all, the reason why you should keep people out of your business is because if you and your husband have an argument, me and my husband clash a few times. Like, we just run, we're two different people. We're not going to agree on things. He may do something I don't like, vice versa. But picking up the phone and bad mouthing him to my family or my friends, like, it's no point in doing that because we're going to reconcile. Like me and him are going to talk it out. We're going to move on. And the people around you are going to be holding on to that. And they're going to be, in your ear telling you, oh, you remember when, don't do this, don't trust him because of like that. You don't need to be listening to everybody. Because some people, your single friends can't give you no advice on your marriage. Okay. You got a lot of people who are just bitter, who are just angry with their lives, and they just are men haters. They bash men. They don't like men, or, they're just basing their advice off what they've been through. And you can't listen to that kind of stuff. You can't do it. Okay. You just can't do it. And it's just important that you just keep what you got going on between you and your spouse in your house. Nobody can help you like that. Now, unless he's beating you or you're going through some serious stuff, then you need to talk to somebody and get out of it. But I'm talking about little stuff because I've seen times I've like met women and they just bash their spouses so bad. And it's like, okay, if he's done something to you or y'all had some hard, rough patches in your marriage, you decided to forgive him and move on, then why are you still talking about him? If you're not going to fully forgive and move on, then, just don't stay because why are you bashing him to everybody? Because ain't nobody going to bad mouth mine. If I hear you saying something about him, you're going to have to come to, because I don't play about my husband. So I'm not going to be bashing him to other people. Just not doing it. Third thing is just being intentional in your relationship. I feel like, we've been married almost 21 years in December, makes 21 years. And if we don't make intentional plans to go on vacation, to have a date night, to spend time together, to do things to make each other happy, it'll be the same old, same old, same old all day, every day, all the time. Okay. And that gets old. So you have to put something in to get something out. And I know we've all heard people say, oh, marriage is what you make it. It really is. If you don't put forth any type of effort to intentionally do things, then, it can all fall by the wayside, especially when you have kids. I'm experiencing marriage with a child, because we were married 16 years before we had our son. So I can see how, a wife can get so caught up in that kid that you kind of like forget about your spouse. It's a lot to juggle, but you have to be intentional about like your time you spend with him, the date nights. We were doing date night every Friday at one point, and then we make sure that we take the time out to do it. If it can't do it every Friday, twice a month, once a month, just intentionally doing things to make, your marriage happy. Okay. People always say that silly stuff, happy wife, happy life. You know what? Men need to be happy too. It's not all about you as a wife. Men are so emotional, but a lot of men don't show it. They don't share their heart. And so I always pray for my husband. Sometimes he's sleeping, I'm laying hands on him and I'm like, God, the things that he's not talking about, the things that I don't know about, like touch those areas, because they don't want to appear weak. So a lot of times they're not really sharing everything, like all of their, my husband is very vulnerable with me more than he is anybody else. But it's just like, you don't know everything that they're dealing with. So their happiness means just as much as your happiness. Number 4, stop comparing your marriage to other people's marriage. Stop comparing your spouse to other folks' spouse, okay? We sometimes look at social media and we idolize these celebrity couples. Ciara and Russell are one that are just like on a pedestal right now. I believe Will and Jada were at one point. I don't know if people are still looking up to them with all that's coming out, but you never know what's going on in somebody's house. Okay, you just never know. People can appear one way on the outside and they struggling on the inside. And nobody is really obligated to share their everything that's going on in their life. You don't have to. You can just share the good parts. Nobody's obligated to tell anybody everything about their life. But that's the reason why we shouldn't be comparing. Okay, I said this last week on the panel. You married your husband making $40,000, $50,000 a year. Why in the world would you be comparing him to your friend husband who makes 6 figures? Okay, that makes no sense. If I'm coming home and I'm saying, you know what, Keisha husband take her to Mexico. Keisha husband do this for her. Keisha husband do that for her. Meanwhile, your husband over here doing the best he can. He's working a job. He's put food on the table. The bills are paid. He just may not have the extra to do for you as this man who makes way more than him is doing for his wife. Okay. Sometimes the way some ways of living is going to require more than one source of income. That's just like me. Me and my husband want a certain life. There are certain things we want to do, certain things we need and that we want that is going to require for him and I both to work. Okay. So if you're not going to get up and help your spouse, then don't get me wrong. I know some people have to stay home with their small kids. It's cheaper to work. It's cheaper to stay home. But I just don't feel like you should be comparing this man to other people and like making him feel less than because he ain't doing for you what this person is doing for. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Because either you can get up and help him, you can help him come up. And I think it's just, me and my husband have always been a team. Okay. Since the first time when we were dating and going to college together, we didn't have that much money. We were splitting our money to go to McDonald's and get a double cheeseburger and fries, and he would have change in his car for us to go to a soda machine. Like, we have always been a team. And I feel like when you are a team, you could conquer the world together when you work together as a team. You shouldn't be divided. You shouldn't be bashing him and down talking your spouse. I'm just not one of those people who like to sit around and listen to people bash their spouse. I just don't like it. It really makes me feel away, and I don't think you should be doing that. On the panel last week, there were also some single girls up there, and they were great. They share a lot of things from their perspective in the dating world, and it was amazing to hear. They were talking about like red flags and things like that, when you're dating and kind of like looking out for things. And it's crazy because another married lady that was on the panel, she said something tremendous. She was just saying how her husband, when God presented him at the time they met in college, he was just not what she expected. He was wearing high waters. He had a different personality. She didn't expect him to be her husband, but she's still married to him. They've been married 27 years. And she was just saying that he didn't come packaged as she expected. So sometimes we just have to be careful that we're not so caught up in our list of expectations, or, the man got to have this, he got to do this, he got to do that. On the first date, he has to take me here, or sometimes, things are going to come to you in a package that you didn't expect. So you don't want to be so hot-headed that you miss out on your forever. That was some good piece of stuff that we shared last week that was amazing. I'm trying to think of anything else. Oh, and we hear this all the time, but keep God first. You're going to need God. You're going to need God in your marriage, because there's going to be times, where, you're going to just need God for direction. My husband and I pray together. We fast together in the past when we needed things from God. We fasting today. We need to pray today. And we need to start back praying more than what we do. But, prayer is really a big deal. Having God lead you. Then you won't have to worry about asking so many people for their advice, when you just go straight to him and say, God, listen, I'm struggling with this. I'm struggling with that. And, God had to show me, because I talked about this last week on the panel. I've always been very sharp with my mouth. I don't mean no harm, but sometimes my response is just sharp. And, I can't speak to my husband like he's my child. And I think a lot of times women forget that we're not their mothers. You can't be saying, oh, well, you ain't doing this and you ain't doing that. You need to do. Oh, you're not his mom. Okay. He's a grown tail man, and you can't raise him. His mama was supposed to raise him. So I think I just had to see myself in the way I spoke to my husband sometimes, just the things that I would say, how I would say it, because my husband is so sweet. Like, he's not gonna verbally say anything ugly to me. So it's like, he don't talk to me so sharp and snappy, so I shouldn't be speaking to him like that. So that's just the real part of you going down in the inside. And instead of you trying to change him, seeing how you can change yourself. It's a lot of self-evaluation in marriage, because you can easily point the finger to other people, to your spouse, but it's not always your spouse. Sometimes it's just the work that you need to put within yourself. So I really hope that this helps someone. Like I said, marriage is it's not a one size fit all. What works for my household may not work for yours. I'm 21 years in. Things that the flexibility that we have in our marriage may not work for a couple that's married for just 2 and 3 years, So don't compare your marriages. Don't feel like, oh, well, this is the way it has to be. I need to do it like this because that's what they doing. No, get into what y'all flow is and just stick to that and take it one day at a time. It can work. It can work. I wish everybody the best who are married, and those of you who are waiting on God. And another thing these single girls said last week, and a guy that I talked to after the conference, amazing, how they're prepping. They're putting in the work right now because they know that they're ready to settle down and be somebody's wife. They know they're ready to settle down and be somebody's husband. So what they're doing is they're laying before God, and they're putting in the work that they need to put in so they are ready to accept their spouse. Even one of the men told me that. He was just saying him and his wife had been married for a year, and how he knew he wanted to be a husband. So he started putting in that work to grow as a man so that he can be ready to see his wife when God showed him. That was amazing to me, because I know a lot of times women have a long list of expectations, right? But if you got a man out who's laying before God and working on himself, looking for a wife, he's going to also have expectations in a woman. And I think a lot of times, women get caught up. Oh, he better have this. He better have that. You know what? You better make sure you're ready for that man, because some of these men are out here putting in the work. They really are. And they know they want to be a husband, and they're taking the time to do some self-evaluation and work on themselves. So anyways, I don't want to make a long video, but I hope that this was helpful, and God bless you.